Okay, so we're back and we've got our, this is the third part of this video, so we've got our pan pastel base layer down. Now what I'm going to do next is obviously we're going to use the eraser. I'm just going to have a look, I will have a look, I'll switch the camera off as well to have a look. I'm just unpinning this because I want to do something before I go any further. So I'm going to be using the eraser to take some of this colour back off and to create some of the texture. I'm also going to use the knife where possible. I'm going to use the knife as opposed to the pencils first of all, so I'm going to take some pigment back off using the eraser and the knife. First thing I want to do, I think you should be able to see this, I've zoomed in enough, a little bit more. Okay, I want to use the knife just to come into where the actual whiskers are, and take those grooves, those channels back to black. I'm just trying to, I usually use this upside down. There we go, that's better. I wasn't getting a totally smooth line there, but I am now. So this is my slice. This is the precision ceramic cutter slice, and this one is the one that fixes into 3 positions. Now, the lovely people over at The Slice, got in touch with me a couple of weeks ago, and they'd seen a little video that I'd done. In fact, it was the founder and designer of The Slice that got in touch, all the way from California, and asked if it was okay to send me lots of their other products to try. So I had a chat with their UK managing director last week, and sure enough, a couple of days ago, check that you can see that, yeah, a couple of days ago I received a lovely package of mixed tools to try, and some of them, like I say, I haven't seen on the market, and they look fabulous for the applications that I want to use them for. So I will be using those. I'm not sure if I'll use them on this portrait. I might do. It'd be interesting to see them pulled in for use. Of course, I need to do some video reviews for them. Okay, so I'm just going to switch the camera off a second whilst I go and just try and find a little tool that I haven't used before, but I'm thinking might lend itself to this, to a purpose here. Okay, so I went off to try and find the tool I was looking for, and what I was actually looking for was, I couldn't find. If I just show you, okay, so you get with the Derwent range, you get sort of these Derwent blenders and burnishing pencils. You can actually get an eraser. You can get one of those wood case surround erasers. And that's what I know. I've got a couple here somewhere, but I can't find them because I'm thinking back 5-6 years now, and I've never really used them. But I suddenly thought, oh, that might actually work well. So what I've dug out instead is a Tombow monoeraser. So we are going to give this a whirl, because what I want is, yeah, I've got the rubber that I can need, but then I suddenly thought, oh, I've got this Tombow eraser, and I've also got a square version of this. This is the round nib version, but you can also get a square one, which I've got. So what I want to do is start to create some of this fluffy fur using the Tombow, and I also want to take back, you see I've just started to lift off here, I want to take back some of this pastel where I've got a little bit too much. In fact, pop that back in there again. So we're going to use very little pencil at this stage. Again, this is, like I say, this is evolving as I'm doing it. So what I'm going to do is come in here and start to lift out some of the black, the darks again, and bring them back up to the fore by using just the monoeraser to erase some of the pan pastel. So I'm just going to start to lift it, and then I'll clean off to one side. Just wipe off the excess and then come back in again. So we'll see how far with texture this takes us, because obviously it's not going to go super fine texture. The knife should be able to do that. But this should take away quite a bit of that pigment. All we're doing is just lifting it up off the surface. Okay, so just double checking where I am. Yeah, all we're doing is lifting the pastel off the surface, so we're using our, we're just going back down to our virgin pigment, our virgin paper underneath. I could have gone in, like say, straight over the top with pencils, but instead I want to keep trying it, like, to show you different techniques that you can use. So again, this is just another example. The more I can combine, I was actually thinking, oh, I'll just use pastel pencils on this over the top. But I appreciate that most of you guys are here with wanting to learn either colour pencil, or I know some of you want to learn a little bit more about using your pan pastels. So I'm trying to keep this in mind for current and future tutorials where I show you many different ways of creating something with as few tools as possible. So say, if you've got your kneadable eraser, you could do this with that, but as I've got this little Tombow, and they're not too expensive to buy. I think I bought a couple with 4 refills for I don't know, maybe £5–6, possibly £8, I don't know. It wasn't that expensive though. Okay, so I'm starting to lift some of that pigment up there. So just wipe off and then go back in again. Let's come up here. I know I put in, see, I could have used this for the nose rather than putting in black pencil on that last stage. I'm going to tidy up around the edges. Just gone over the edge a tiny bit there. We'll lift some of that off. Just sharpen it up a little bit. I'll just repeat, but when I go quiet, it just means I'm concentrating. I'm not ignoring you guys. But I'm just really, if you could see me, I've got such a frown on as I'm doing this. So here I can come in and just leave a little hint of that blue there and take a lot of that back down to black. Soften across the top of the head there. So we'll go in here with possibly like a warm grey one, or even an ivory later on, just to create the flicky hairs up into the darkness. And I want to be careful here what I lift out, because I don't want huge chunks. I might use the knife here instead. Just lift a tiny bit off. Yep, I'll take the knife instead. And when I do the work with the knife, I'll be coming in with, I'll be taking it off, it being taped down, and coming in with spinning it around as well, so that I can use the knife in a natural action, but I'll explain that more when we come to it. Okay, so let's come down here again. I'm going to start working into the flicks of the fur now. So just clean off. Okay, so again, a lot of the main texture we will create using a knife. I'm going to create some of it. Just by taking back out some of that. And it's not actually black in the reference photo, but I'm just using the tonal values in the reference photo. Really, rather than being exact with them, I'm using them more as a point of reference. Okay, so here, much more of a flick there. Same here. Okay, so where I've taken that out into the edge, I'm just going to tighten that up. Clean off. Okay, so in here there's a little dark pocket. Same as in here, there's a little dark pocket. I might even pick up a tiny little bit of pastel matte, because the pastel matte, I'm just wiping this off on normal like flat cartridge paper at the moment, but if I pick up a little piece of pastel matte, then it's got a slight abrasiveness to it. So it's a bit like, if, move that away. It's a bit like cleaning off on fine sandpaper. It's just going to clean my nib of this eraser off a little bit better. you do this lightly, like I say, you can just lift off a little bit of pigment and just lighten the area a tiny bit without taking it all the way back down to the dark. Obviously press a little bit harder and a few more times, and that will sink it away. Okay, so let's bring this around here. Well, hopefully you're starting to see what it is I'm doing. So all of this, we only want really a hint of the this colour coming through on here. So I'm just following, like I would be if I was doing this in pencil, in a big thick wide pencil. I'm following the direction and the length of the fur. I think I will have to dig out a tiny bit of pastel mat. I usually have a little piece to hand. What's that there? No, that isn't. Okay, I'll find a piece of pastel mat very soon. I'll do a little bit more of this, and what I'll do is, because you understand hopefully now what it is I'm doing, I'm going to finish this little area up here. And then I'll do the rest of this area, and I'll just speed it up as well. So I'm cutting back in from the outside edge. There's lots of like little triangular shapes to the edge of this the fur over here. Just triangular shapes coming in from the outside edge, and then sort of fur stroke shapes coming away. Okay. So you can see there, I'll just zoom in. Should be able to see the strokes. The lights, I've had to angle my light coming in from this way now, so it's a lot brighter over here, but you should be able to see where I've started to almost create the texture there. I'll lift a little bit of this up, but this is mainly going to be done with the knife. I might even go and try one of the new fancy knives as well, because some of them are very fancy. A couple of them are almost prototypes as well, which I'm quite excited about being allowed to try something so new. I'm being trusted to try them. Do this little area, and then what I'll do is I'll speed up, and at the same time just get a little piece of pastel mat to be cleaning off this tool, my Tombow eraser. So, going through here. You see now why it didn't matter so much that I went in with too much pan pastel, because I wanted to show that we could lift it back off again. Like I say, I was going to be using that needle eraser, but this is working so much better. I'm glad I thought to pull it out. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there now. I'm going to speed up. I'm going to work all the rest of this area, speed up. I just need to get some something a bit coarser to wipe this off. Okay, then I'll come back to you then when I'm ready to do some knife work. Okay, so I've used the Tombow eraser pretty much all over this bottom area. I'm just going in now, literally tapping in a few little highlights with the white pan pastel. Just popping some of those back in there. Yeah, and still flicking my eyes backwards and forwards to that reference photo. I just want to get a little bit more of this highlight down on this outer edge again. And we'll shape back into it again with that Tombow. In fact, let me use one of the little smaller applicators here. Try not to blend it all in, that's the only problem. There's a few little dabs. I'll tell you what I do need to do, whilst we're just on this. Let me just spin this around. And also spin my reference around too. Just want to make sure. Got dust falling all over the place here now. Just want to make sure. Got that chin in there nicely. More in here for this highlight in the ear. That's just a lovely thing about these the pan pastels as well, is these lovely applicators. Just mixing in a little touch of that blue again in there now. A little bit much touch more of the white. And a little touch of that tint of that pink down here as well. Let's have a look at where we are. As you can see, there's my little piece of pastel mat, big piece of pastel mat that I pulled in just to be cleaning off the monoeraser on. Okay, and you can see here, like I say, this is where all we've used is that monoeraser just to lift the pigment up. So that's all that's down here. Apart from the eye, obviously we used colour pencil on the eye. All we've done is put pan pastel down and we've lifted it off again. Simple as that. Okay, so next thing I want to do, oh, I just need to lift off. Let's see, are we going to attempt that now as well? So, yeah, the little, I need to find out the technical name for the little circles that aren't circle bubbles for where the base of the oh, I'll find my word in a minute, where the base of the whiskers, these little nodules, or basically the base of where the whiskers, the big fat chunky whiskers, come out of the cheek. And they're not little round dots, so don't just make them little round dots, because they're not. So I'm just going to lift off some of this with a little wiggle. I'll touch that as well. There's another one there. One in here. Very faint ones. Coming around here. I need more, no, I need more. That fawny peachy colour around here. That's better. That's the great thing again as well about the panpastel. If you've taken too much up, you can just come back in, pop a little bit more back over the top, sweep more over the top. It's not like with pencils where you really lose the tooth early on. You can lift the pastel off again, as demonstrated here, and then go back in and sweep more in if you need it. These are quite strange little shapes if you look at them quite closely. I think we'll use our knife for the finer ones. We've got a little hint of where they are now. I don't think there's any more for me to lift out with the Tombow eraser. I think we should do the rest now with a knife. But that has worked really well to help start to create some of our texture. Okay, some of you will know that I've been sent, this is just a couple of them, I've been sent some lovely blades and knives by the founder of The Slice, who creates and design these ceramic safety knives. They saw one of my videos online and really liked it and just wanted to get in touch to see if there was any other way that they could help me with well, with using the products within the art world, really, because obviously they design these mainly for industry, for safety measures, and they're sold in bulk to industries. So it's not really something I don't think they thought of as artists using them. So what I'm going to do, I'm working on this cat at the moment, and I want to just, I've used, it's just pan pastel down on here, and I've used a small eraser, a mono eraser, so far, just to start flicking through and creating, lifting off the pan pastel to create some of this texture. Now I'm just looking at a couple of these knives that they've sent me, and I'm just going to try to decide which one I might have a try with. Textured control grip, because this is my original. Obviously I've got already blades here, she says. I did have them to hand. This is one blade that I've got. This is a really fine one by Slice. You can see it's really, really, really fine, the tip on this, so we can use that later on for really fine texture. And I seem to have put down my, had it here a couple of minutes ago, and as you do, I haven't moved, but it appears to have vanished. So what I'm going to do anyway is just try with one of these. I think, I just want to see what, oh, the never lost cap, that's the difference between this one and this one. So I'm going to crack open this one, which is the craft cutter with ceramic blade, and see how we get on with it. Let me just see if I can get into the back without causing too much damage. There we go. So, it's lovely and light. It does feel literally just like a pen. My normal Slice cutter is much chunkier and heavier, but really nice in my hand as well. So what I'm going to do is just start to, I don't know, let's pop in some texture. So what I want to do is, first of all, free up my picture so I can move it around. This is one thing when you're using a knife, you want to be able to keep your piece of work free moving. Otherwise you're not flicking away in a natural motion when you're creating the fur texture flicks. So I'm just going to line up my reference photo upside down as well. Always helps if it matches. Let's turn this around. Got a bit of tape there just to hold it in place. And what I'm going to do, just zoom in a little bit here. I'm just going to see how this performs. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my goodness me, I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Wow. Okay. So I'm just going to go really light-handed here because I went in a little bit harder there just because I wasn't sure how much texture that was going to give me. But it is fantastic. I am so impressed. What I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to pop in some pencil down that outside edge so that I can really flick this knife into it. I usually use this upside down. Let me just try it both ways. Let's try it the normal way up. This is better being used the normal way up. But yeah, I am impressed with that. I used to use metal blades, so a basic craft knife. I've got one here to hand. I use this one. I used a couple of different types. This was just a Swan Morton blade, and you can see here how rusty and horrible it gets, but it's not just that. You can cut yourself on these, and you can also cut your work really easily. Here is another one. There's another Swan Morton one. Again, at least this one did have a lid as well, but they're okay. But like I say, the blades on these craft knives, these slice knives, they've been tested now, and I think last time I did a video, they were proven to be lasting the blades 10 times longer than steel. But now I've seen, especially on this new one, these new ones, well, the one I cracked open says 10 times, but I know since then, look, they're now they last up to 11 times longer than stainless steel, than steel. Now, obviously, it does depend on what use you're putting these to. The guys at Slice did advise me that if you wanted to, you could cut through Kevlar. So you can imagine though, you're going to possibly blunt it a little bit quicker depending on what you use it for. Okay, so what I'm doing here, for those that are following the actual tutorial, is I'm just flicking my eyes backwards and forwards to the reference photo and just starting to create some texture. And what we'll do is we'll go in afterwards with actually using pencil to put down some really fine texture, and then we'll come in with the knife again, because the knife will create finer texture than we can create with any pencil. But yeah, really impressed with that. Well, hopefully you can just see that. Let's clean that off. I'm going to come up here now as well around the edge. Being careful, I'm following the fur direction here. It all starts to sweep down a little bit. See, I need to now change the angle of my paper there. Let's come up here to where the ear is as well. Some dark areas. Because we're working on obviously the black paper, we're lifting away the pigments to reveal more of the dark shadows of the black paper underneath. So we've put our light coloured pastel over the top, and then I use the monoeraser to lift off the big amounts of pigment. But now we can use this knife to start to see. Now the whiskers, the little flicks of hair here are white, so I'm not really going to be lifting much out there, but I can look to see where little pockets of shadow are in between the whiskers and the hairs. And same here, if we come up to where the eye is, let me just zoom out, reposition a little bit, and zoom in a tiny bit. Okay, so we can just lift some of this out, but over here then we're going to have whiskers coming in all directions. Anybody who wants to follow on this one, there is a full video tutorial, and there will be a written tutorial this month, December 8, 2018. The videos are going to be exclusive over on my teaching channel, where you can become a member and you can access those videos along with all of my other tutorial videos. That's over on Patreon. There will be links in the description of the video. This is just a little snippet to show this tool in action. I am really impressed with this initial quick little go with this craft cutter. So that's the package for that one again. And it's got the 105/18 blade in, and it will fit the curved blade as well, but I do prefer the pointed blade for this kind of work. But yeah, got a little lid there. The other one, like I say, has got a lid they designed because in industry people were losing the lid. Obviously they were working, putting the lid down and then losing it. So they did design a new one that's, you can't lose the lid because it's attached. Okay, so we're back to, I'm just twiddling this around as I work on it. We're back to just continuing down here with some of this flicky fur. Zoom in a tiny bit. I don't want to go off screen, that'll see any trouble. Okay, so let's come down into this dark area here. Like I say, we're going to come in here with lighter as in lighter colour, so a cream or an ivory later on, to add in the fine flicks of fur that we see here. At the moment this is literally just coming in, starting to break it up and create some of this amazing texture using the knife. It's just doing what the Tombow eraser did, but on a much finer detail level. I'm not even following the picture, the reference photo exact, I'm just enjoying this. Again, it's just a quick tutorial. Don't get too hung up on details or making it exact. If you're following along, let's say I've not colour matched exactly on this one. It's more about the process. I mean, if you want, like saying you're using maybe your own reference photo, this is just to learn the techniques. This is just showing you some techniques that you can use to create a cat that I did in colour pencil, plain colour pencil on suede board the other week. I've also done it in ink, some funky colours. Obviously didn't colour match at all with that one. It's just variation, it's art. So say if you're doing the tutorial, you don't need to be exact. I'm flicking my eyes backwards and forwards to the reference photos still, because I want to get, you know, a good representation of the texture of the fur. Right, here it's all sort of a squiggly, fuzzy ended, I was going to say, all a bit of a mess. It's all scruffy, tously fur. So this is going to create our first layer of texture, and then what we will do, let's say go back in with super sharp pencils with ivory or a light colour to put in the really fine squiggly scruffy highlight strands of fur over the top, hairs, cat hairs, and then we'll come back in again with a knife and squiggle. So this is sort of the opposite. So say you were working on white paper, when you dug in here you took that whisker back to white. We've obviously taken it back to black, so when you're removing, when you're using your knife, just, let's say, be mindful all the time of you're taking it back to black, you're not taking it back to white or any other colour. And like I say, depending on what colour paper you've chosen to work on, if you're not working on the black, look on the cat. If you're working on sort of like a browny colour, look on the cat where you can colour match the colour of your paper to the same colours on the reference photo, and use your knife in those areas and lift out where you can see that colour and create the texture. So you might be using this for your mid-tones. I'm using it for my darks. If I was working on white paper or a lighter shade of paper, I'd be using it for the highlight. I'd be using it more over here on the highlight areas rather than for the dark areas cutting into the highlights. See there on the actual reference, there's more light there. I'm not going to worry about it. Just going to carry on working. Loosely, quickly. Flicking my eyes backwards and forwards. Loose, 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 loose. Making sure you're going to see me if I come down here. Yep. But it's the effects that we're after. This is what I'm trying to teach you. It's the effect. It's not the exact copy or rendition of my finished piece. I want you to learn as individual artists and just use the techniques. I know some of you will probably manage somehow to create pretty much a replica of what I've done, which fair play to you if you do. I don't think I could. I'm sure I'm terrible. I'd probably always, if I was doing tutorials of someone else's, I'd go off at a tangent somewhere along the line. Okay. You see here, look, see I'm going in all different directions. Just think, wait, look at the cat's fur and just think, ooh, fuzzy wuzzy, wiggly, squiggly. It's not all refined and smooth like a beautiful, I don't know, black glossy lab, or think about the texture and communicate that to your hand that you want squiggly, loose, rough texture in your strokes, and then that will come through and be depicted in the fur that you're creating. I hope I make sense. Do you know what? The amount of times I sit here and I'm just talking away to the camera, I don't often, I sort of flick through when I'm doing the editing, making sure the sound's okay here and there and a couple of places, and then a few minutes further on. I am conscious that I probably sit here waffling away and you lot just, I don't know, maybe you get a cup of tea and you have a good giggle at me, I don't know, but I do waffle, but I try to include within the waffle lots of information as well, explaining why I'm doing something as well as how I'm doing it and how you can do it a little bit different if you want to. So let's flick this round again and have a look at the side that we've just started building up the texture on, as opposed to over here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over to this side. Let me straighten my reference photo up again so it's the same direction. Now then, let's have a look. I know I've got this bit here to do first, but let's come down here because I've got a feeling I'm going to need to put more pastel down here, but maybe I can do that afterwards. And I might put some purples and blues through there. But let's give a nice indication of this lovely long wispy hair. And I am going to need to use pencils over here as well, just to extend these beautiful flicks outwards. Really, really, really light pressure, just literally laying the knife down, and that's how you get away with not cutting through your work. Yeah, I'm definitely going to soften this up. I'm going to come in here with some purples and some more red. It's all gone very, very dark down in that corner where I've lifted it out with that Tombow. And then flick back in from the outside edge. Yeah, this needs lots more beautiful reds and purples and a touch maybe of some indigo through there. Again, still eyes back at the reference, back to the work, reference, work, reference. This isn't all lining up exactly as it is in the reference, but am I worried? No, I know it's for a tutorial, but as I've already explained, it doesn't need to be perfect. This is not a commission piece, this is a piece of fun, teaching you hopefully some new things, getting you out of your comfort zone, and just showing you there's different ways of creating something. I mean, you didn't need to have put your base layers down using panpastel. Maybe you could have gone in there with built up your layers of pencil, just blocked it in, then you could come in with your knife and start creating the texture by taking it away again. You could have done that as well, that would work. It's just panpastel goes down smoother and quicker. You can see that if you don't clean your nib off and you lift back up into the light area, the dark areas, it takes that pigment up into there. So just keep cleaning it off. I'm being a bit naughty, I'm just literally wiping it on my finger here, so I will for next time make sure I got a tissue. It's just that I've been loving how this pen works. Pen knife. See in there should be a little line of light going through there. So I'll probably add that back in with our pencils in a bit. Just softening up, feathering on that outside edge there. Get that monoeraser. Oops. Just clean up that area. And you see, if you did this on pastel mat, you would leave a slight residue on the pastel mat. With this Colourfix Smooth, as you can see, it's not leaving any marks there at all. Let's come in here, break this up a little bit. Look at that texture. Again here, I'll slow it down, so I'm doing like a flick and a wiggle and a squiggle. All different directions, because that is the way that the fur is behaving. Hair, cat hair. Again, there I can see where I need to go in with that fine light pencil. And you might just use this in future, sort of once in a blue moon. Might be something you think, oh, I actually really like that way of working. I like the effect it gives. You might use it in more of your work. But it's just loading your arsenal, just building the arsenal of knowledge of, and also eliminating fears of, it's just a piece of paper. Just gonna have a play, gonna try it out. Lisa did it. Can't be that scary. It's possible. She's shown me how to do it. Let's just go for it. So again down here I'm still squiggling in all directions, keeping an eye on the fur direction in my photo and kind of just following direction and length. There we go. So that's sort of all of this area done there. Hopefully you can see a good bit of difference. I can't wait to come up. I'm going to have to do it because I'm terribly impatient like that. I just want to come up here. Just see how gentle I'm going to be. Around his face. Oh, it's lovely, it's lovely, it's lovely. I'm very excited. Again, I'll do exactly the same up here. I'll come in, create texture, and then we'll come in with our pencils, and then back in with the knife if we need to add more texture again. Yeah, really, really happy. So thank you very much to the guys at The Slice for providing me with these wonderful new tools to work with. Okay, so we've got a lot of the body done now. I'm just going to do a little bit more work. We've worked all of this area here. Now I'm going to come in and just started on the edges here. I'm just going to soften up a little bit more. So we are going to come in obviously later on with our pencils around here as well, but I just want to make sure I'm creating all of this lovely texture with the knife first of all. Again, it's very wiry. Keep cleaning off my blade. So remember, eyes backwards and forwards, that reference photo. Softening up these outer edges of this white fluffy fur. Again, we'll be using a pencil in there as well just to create more flicky pencil strokes. Let me just move that away from my table again. That's better. I should stop shaking now. So, back. So creating this fur texture. And like I said, I know I keep repeating myself, but it matters not if you take off too much pigment, because you can just come back in and add a little touch more in if you need to. So I'm gradually working my way up. Doesn't matter again which order you do this in, you might have done the face first and then come down to do the body afterwards. Entirely up to you how you work. Just keeping an eye on which way this blade is going. I don't want to be cutting through my actual paper. And just cleaning my blade off as well as I go. So far I'm really impressed with this basic craft knife. See, lots more lighter colour pigment needs to go in here as well, which we'll pop in with our pencils. So really keeping a close eye on that reference photo now. Look at the direction and the length of each stroke of fur. I am going to spin the sorry, I'm just concentrating whilst I just lift that pigment back out again from the whiskers. I'm going to spin my the piece again in a second, so that I'm actually using the knife in the most natural way. Okay, I'm just going to flick up, make sure you can see what I'm doing. I'll hold it a bit further away, there we go. So I'm just cutting back up into the outer edge of what I call the cheek. I did a little bit of this earlier on. So you can use this pretty much a bit like your pencil, sort of drawing back in those original lines, except for, remember what I said, that the lines are negative, so you're drawing your dark lines back in as opposed to your, normally when we'd be working say on pastel mop, we'll be putting our light coloured lines in over the top. So I'm just coming around here. I'm working, like I say, from the outside in a little bit. And I appreciate there's so much I can do with my ivory pencil over in this area as well, but we're just going to get that texture in there. Take as many little bits back to dark as possible. It's going to come down from that eye, lots of texture in here. And it all comes down and flicks up towards the top of the head. Okay, let's move the camera up a little bit now, so we've got it on the head itself. Let's leave that bottom cheek in place as well. That should, there we go, that should enable us to, it doesn't slip, which it has. Hang on a second. There we go. That now should enable us to start working all of this lovely textured fur. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'll just light a tiny bit. Don't want it to be glaring too much, but hopefully there you go, you should be able to see there. A little bit reflective for me, that's fine. So going up the tiger stripe there. And again, you just have to keep blowing away all of that pigment. Some changes in direction here of the fur, so it comes down over the cheek there, but it flicks. Well, it's sort of quite wiry. It partly comes down, but some little areas do flick away as well. So I'm going to be changing my direction of my knife a little bit here. I'm holding it really gently. Remember when I say about pressure with your pencil holding? I'm doing very much a similar thing with the knife here. I'm holding it really gently, so I'm not pressing very hard at all when I'm putting it to the paper. It's a real dark little area there behind, underneath the ear, and the white cheek fur is going to flick out over the top of this. And little dark shadows here. I'm looking at all the dark, the depth of the shadow tone right at the base of the fur. I know there's lots of ivory over the top, but again we're going to put that in with a really fine pencil in a bit. And some of you are thinking probably, why bother putting down this pigment initially? You're just lifting it off again, and this is just a different way of creating. If you can see, I've still got a lovely base underneath, and all I'm doing is scratching straight in with texture. And again, then the fine pencils over the top in a second will just be texture as well. So it takes us really quickly past the stage of colour blocking and laying down many layers of, say, pencil, which would be needed on this Colourfix Smooth for it to begin to create a smooth base. It does speed it up, and I'll see, it just gives a nice soft effect. Just shall I say, I keep repeating myself, and it's just to show you a different way of getting to a similar end result as just using, say, pencils. And sometimes you might choose to use this method, sometimes you may choose to use just pencils, sometimes, let's say it's not often, you'd be working on a black background. And if you did all of this and decided you don't want the black background, you could also go in at the end and put in a lovely coloured background. Okay, I'm coming up here now. I'm going to pull some of this away. This comes down here, this lovely tiger stripe on this side does come down, kind of meets up here. Look at the length the whiskers here, much longer whiskers, hairs here over this cheek area. Make sure that's reflected in the length of your strokes. So here little short stubbies, here much longer. Keep an eye on that direction. And say some I want to take up away from that shadow. Much shorter hairs again, very short hairs here when we get up underneath this eye area. So I'll take a little bit more of this in here. It's very much a very defined dark pinkish area here, coming away and above that eye there. Make sure we've got that in, and then as it comes down here over the cheek, it's a change in direction. You'll see I've worked that area quite a bit rather than going in really harsh. A bit like when you put your pencil layers down, rather than going in with just one really heavy layer, I've gone in with lots of light layers, and that way it gives me a chance to kind of refine how much I'm lifting away. Leaves me with more control. So again, some lovely shadows there underneath. Here you've got another like a sweep around the cheek. You've got a light area here, more blues which you can see here in the undertones, but again you'll see here as well you'll need to put in lots of little ivory pencil marks over the top, but at the moment we're just looking underneath and we're picking out all of the dark shadows at the base of those ivory pencil first strokes that are going to be going in later on. So we're looking right underneath all of that fur still, looking at the direction, length, but we're pulling out with this all of the shadows underneath. Now I've got this tiger stripe here, just clean my blade, this tiger stripe here, I've got this other one coming up into it here, which I think I've taken down too far, so I'm just going to put in another little touch of pigment. Just want to shorten that a tiny little bit. There you go, it's as simple as that. And then I can control that better by lifting away with the knife. So let's continue down here. This is where the bottom of that little cheek area comes up to. It wasn't too far off. Just a tiny bit out of shape. haven't spun my paper yet, because at the moment I'm managing just to make this direction work absolutely fine for me. So now you can see that direction, how it comes down and curls up around here. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit more texture down through here. A couple of little really dark little spots in through here. Almost like markings. Okay. Tempted. I'm almost jumping all over. I'm trying to hold back. So I appreciate you guys are trying to follow me as well. Or you might as well have gone off on your own tangent already as well anyway. Okay, so make sure that's lovely and dark through there. So, now I think I might need to spin in a second. Let's have a look how we can do this. I'm going to come forward onto these little spots. See if I can still, really short hairs through here, so I'm going to just, as long as I can keep flicking this away in the right direction. I'm also going to come back in, not just with the ivory, but also with possibly something like a light flash. Very pinky little areas around here, especially up around the nose, which I still need to do. So, more texture around here. Still making sure this is curling up. Especially at the top of that tiger stripe. Zoom in a tiny bit. Okay. I guess if any of you have tried doing scratchboard, this is very similar, apart from instead of lifting it, you're taking the black surface off to take it back down to white. You're kind of doing it in reverse. So you put pigment down and you're lifting it off and taking it back to black. It's a very similar principle though to how it works, as in the technique. So here you've got a lovely, it's like the top of the mouth coming down into the cheek, so a flick. It's very much longer fur here as well, so I want to give that impression as well. But all the time keeping an eye on fur length and fur direction. Hopefully you can see quite clearly there the texture. You see how light a pressure I'm using as well. So let's come around here. Okay, so next little hint of further action sweeping around this mouth. Now it's quite light in here, so we're not going to be taking out quite as much. We can exaggerate it a little bit. We'll go in here again with our pencils as well for tweaks. So I'm pushing up and away from the little whisker, dark whisker nodules as I call them. Okay, that's decided not to lift up there for some reason. That's better. Take away this pigment that's gone into the whiskers again. I want to go in there with a nice sharp white pencil in a bit. Get those whiskers showing up nicely. Might take 2 or 3 goes at just cleaning these out. I know we did them earlier on, but obviously pigments form back in there again. Okay, so again we need lots more white around here as well, but I'm going to come in here and just gently mark in the lower edge of that mouth. You can mark it in so much more gently using this knife than you can even with pencils. Okay, that's lifted away quite a bit there. Right, rather than move the camera, let me just move the picture down now instead. Because the camera's in a good position. I'm going to work actually, let me turn it 90 degrees. That should be okay. And I'll turn my reference 90 degrees as well. See how we get on creating some of this texture. Right, let's go. We'll do the nose first of all. Let me come out a tiny bit. Right, hokey cokey. So, nose comes round here to more of a point. Little hints of texture, really short stubbly here. So I'm literally just putting the knife down and lifting off again. And coming down here from the eye, I think I need to get more highlight in there anyway and some more blue in there. This flicks up over that nose. Okay, so down here, away from that eye. Just keeping an eye on, literally, keeping an eye on all the directions here. So this comes pretty much straight down away from that eye. But I need some pencil work to go in here just to tighten all of this up. So this is where it then starts to curve around. Flicks up here. See, here on the nose, it curls up around the nose as well. So let me get this line in here. Mark that line in. See, tiny little... It's almost like, you know, when you stipple with a pencil. That's kind of what I'm doing with the knife. I'm just resting that point on and stippling. So here we've got that little, let's call it a nodule again. You know what I'm talking about when I say a nodule. It's these little dark spots. So highlight those in a little bit. I'm going to stipple around the top of this nose. Just around the edge of the nostrils. And then here, away from these nodules, it really flicks up over the nose and curls around. I know someone did ask for a tutorial to show all the directions of fur, how it grows on a cat and a dog. I mean, it is slightly different because obviously you get different types of fur on animals. Like if you're comparing dogs, a Labrador is completely different to a Labradoodle. Is different to like a wire terrier. So the fur in principle might set off at the root growing in a certain direction, but depending on the texture, it's somewhat controlled by the type of fur as well, and also if the dog gets clipped. There's so many things, and you know, because I say with a spaniel and that, the weight of the fur as it gets long will start to pull down and change. It can influence and change the direction of the fur as well. I suppose if you've got a real short haired cat, I mean, especially here over the nose, we can see this really well. We can see the direction it's going just by looking at the reference photo. Don't really need to know a lot more about the anatomy or makeup of the cat itself, because you can see it very clearly here in the reference. And that's the best guide, really. Make sure that whatever reference you're following, that you've got lovely clear fur direction. You can see the coloration and you can see the direction of the fur. That's the best advice I can give you, really. Now we're going to exaggerate coming up here. We can't see all of the fur direction, but I know it's there just after I've told you to draw what you see. Now this disappears into nothing, but I'm just going to literally pull some more of this fur direction out, and especially here I need to lift away some more of that lovely dark shadow over the top of the eye here. Okay. And then we can flick some of our brow patterns there. But let's come back over this nose again first of all. I'm getting distracted. See, this needs to be a lot lighter so here as well, so we'll go in with our pencils. And same as well, I'm actually going to pull in a pencil now. Same here, across the top of this nose. This actually needs to come out a tiny bit more. Sink the pencil down in there, just to create. That's much better. Just to create a more precise top line where I missed some of the pigment going right up to the edge using the panpastel, using the soft tools. There we go, that's a much better line there. And we'll use ivory around here. We'll do the same when we come down to doing around the mouth. So now I can cut into it with, I just need a little bit more pigment there to be able to cut into it again with the knife. So this line here is what I call like the stop of the nose. So it's where the nose comes in and meets the forehead. So that's the stop. That's what we call it on the dogs anyway. So I'm following the same principle with the cat, even though it's much more of a curved skull on the cat. So cutting up through here, and again we'll use our pencil to put in some lovely long whiskers up here. Just doing the outer edge first of all. As we get up towards this, where the light's catching the inside of the ear, let me just tidy up that outside edge. I'll come in with the rubber there as well, just to tidy that up. Let's just tidy up edge of that ear. The other one will need doing as well, but I haven't got that one in camera shot. So as we come up here, you'll notice as well I'm working from the outside in again now. I want to get this long bits of fur done, and then we'll just come down towards that brow so that the brow flicks up over the top nicely. So I'm just going to flick some of these long textured hairs here up over that ear, just marking that ear nicely as well. And then we'll pull some of this down. We're going to flick some ivory flicks of fur up into here, but we want some shadow down behind them as well. Lovely. Okay, so come around gently around the top of this brow line for the nearest eyebrow. That's the furthest eyebrow there. Just along the bridge of that nose, just flick a few little whiskery bits there. And then these little whiskery hints here just give us that hint of that top edge of that nearest brow line. And then we come in here, right, I'm going to mark this, we come at the top of the pupil across and here. lift some of that away, and then this all starts to meet up and become, say, long. These are much longer whiskers again here, hairs. I always say whiskers, which I guess most people refer to these as the whiskers. I'm kind of referring to the actual hairs themselves as being whiskers. So I apologise if I confuse anyone there. I actually mean the cat hairs. So we've got a lovely little dark patch in here again now. But I want to make sure I've got the depth of that, the position, just right away from the eye. So let's get in and around this upper eyelid, all this direction. I'm flicking my eyes backwards and forwards here now, just to make sure I'm pulling this all into the right place, because this will alter the whole look, feel, character of the cat. And yep, I know we're going in with our light pencil as well, and we can repeat some of this work with the knife. So this comes up from here, that's where it comes out from. This is all curling away lovely. More texture there. So now what we need is finish off texturizing up here. No, just zoom out a tiny bit. Just texturizing up here. Coming away from that direction, that's quite a long fur, even though it's quite light in colour, it's quite a long fur up here. You're thinking, no, we're on the top of the head here, coming back round, so the fur is getting longer as we go up over the top of the head. Pull away from those shadows. Now, this is where the head fur joins with the face fur around here, so there's lots of different directions coming in, and it's curling around towards that ear. Again, it's much longer fur here, so it's going to curl around into the ear a little bit as well. Now here, just look at the direction on your reference. This is coming pretty much straight up, almost on the same line as that ear is going there. So like I said, the key in this is all of the fur directions and the length. And one wrong fur direction means that you totally can deform the shape of the cat's head without even realising it. And I say, if you get really blinkered in your vision as well, you might not even see that you've done that. But like I say, this is a bit like, again, like working on a pastel mat. If you get a little bit wrong, you've got a chance to redeem yourself, because we're going to come in with the pencils. If you get it completely wrong, just go over the whole lot again with your pan pastels. It doesn't really matter, so don't stress too much. It's got to be perfect, because if you get a little bit wrong, you can put it right on the next step. Now let me just spin this around again, because I want to tackle just inside of this ear as well, even though inside of the ear is quite light. Spin around again. Let me get that ear into place. That should be okay. I'll pop my reference right underneath, so I've got the ear on show. Readjust myself a little bit. Smooth away all that loose pigment. There we go. Okay. Now in this ear is pretty much light coloured. I'm going to use our pencil, our white pencil possibly for that. I'm going to tidy up this ear as well. So let me just tidy up the outside edge with the monoeraser. Lift a little bit here as well. Lift a little bit of this pigment here as well, and just darken up the edge of that ear. There we go. So there is some texture up here of some dark hairs on the light. Not a huge amount. We've got some of this texture here. I'm just going to flick some of these fur lines, and then I'm going to lift a little bit of pigment in here just to darken it up a tiny bit inside of that ear. If it goes back too dark, we'll have to come in with something like a Caput Mortem Faber-Castell pencil just to darken up inside of the ear. So, from there, from the eye, coming down, got the dark shadows in here, dark shadows inside the ear itself. There we go. Now I think we're pretty much there, to be honest, as far as we can go with the knife for now. So what the next stage will be, we'll be coming in with our pencils. And then if we need to come back in with the knife and add more texture, we will. There's a few bits that need refining that we haven't done, like say getting the nose in shape properly. Obviously got all the hairs that are going to flick out into the outside area, whiskers, and adding more texture down here with our pencils. But I'm hoping to limit the amount of pencils that we use, so I'll be looking for a white, an ivory, possibly a touch of a pink or a Caput Mortem coming in here. We'll find a nice, again probably Caput Mortem, maybe a bit of dark indigo down through some of the fur work as well, light flesh or medium flesh up around here as well for some of those orangey pink areas. Okay, so we'll leave it there now and I'll come back in with the pencils next.